So my name is Robert Garcia. This is my wife, Nicole Garcia. And the purpose of this video is to tell you a story about Marcelino.
So I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse for 9 years, and for about 7 or so of those years, I've been traveling to Peru and Ecuador once or twice a year, depending on the year, to do surgical procedures on children that are in need of orthopedic surgery. So I'm a part of an orthopedic surgical team. I love being a nurse. It's a career choice that I have adored, and going on mission trips and providing a specialty skill set for a need that needs to be met is a huge reason I became a nurse. And so I am not bilingual. I'm very comfortable around Spanish, and I understand a fair amount. It's not come easy for me speaking it. And it is extremely difficult, especially because I am such an empathetic person. It's part of the reason I love doing these trips, but I'm not able to communicate with the children in the way that I would genuinely like to, or the way I would if the child was here and an English speaker. So those are things, when I've been on trips in years past, I have actively kind of thought, oh, I wish Robert could be here, because there's things I know that he would add such value to this team. So that's what this opportunity came up, where I actually stayed home with our children and he went with the team.
For a medical interpreter, it's not just can you speak Spanish. There was a lot for me to learn, a lot for me to prepare for on this trip. Dr. Shaw grabbed me. We're in the layover before we're flying to Ecuador. We're in Atlanta airport, and Dr. Shaw comes with an envelope, a file. There was this case with this, at that point, he was 12 years old. Marcelino was gonna have surgery to amputate. Their thought was that they were going to amputate from the knees down.
Both legs.
On both of his legs. If this was going to be done, was this a procedure that he was aware of? Was this a procedure that he wanted? Or was this something that others were encouraging him to do without maybe his agreeing to it? These two kids were from an orphanage. One of them was 5 years old, and then Marcelino at that time was 12. And the amazing difference between a family that was there with a child who could receive the kid when they come out of the operating room, and then to these other two who didn't have that. They had support, they had people from the orphanage, but they didn't have parents. And that was just heart-wrenching. It was hard for me to see, knowing that he didn't have that. Specifically Marcelino, he didn't have that. And I see him coming out of this major surgery, and he doesn't have a mom or a dad to receive him. And this other kid either, but the connection that I made with Marcelino was strong. I had to come home and really unpack it all, and my emotions, my feelings, and really try to explain it. And there's this picture that she likes talking about, that I'm next to Marcelino, and we've got this, this smile going on that was this person who really is me, but that came out of the overflow of this joy that I felt from hanging out with this kid and who he was and what he brought out in me, I believe. And I hope that that was also the case for him. But we were smiling together, and Nicole talks about this picture, how, now that's the Robert I know. That's the Robert that we were waiting for. And so I had just been missing that piece of who I really am. I can't explain it other than knowing that there's something missing, and it was another child. And coming home and telling Nicole about Marcelino, and telling her about, how he was just this amazing kid who inspired me. And so when I approached her, I finally came home and threw my hands up in the air and said, Nicole, we got adopted. What do you think? And she says, finally, it's about time. What took you so long?
Well, first of all, just because you meet a child that happens to be an orphan that needs to be adopted, when it comes to international adoption, it doesn't mean it's not that easy. There are not a lot of adoptions done between the United States and Ecuador, but there are some. There's only 2 agencies within the whole entire United States that even work with Ecuador. So it's not very common, but it's doable, which is kind of the first step. Every country that you adopt from has different requirements for how long a family or parents need to stay there. They're requiring us to be there for 6 to 8 weeks at the minimum. It could be as many as 12 weeks, but we are called to Marcelino, so we're making whatever arrangements we need to make that doable. And in some ways, it's a blessing, because even though we are not sure how all the logistics and the finances and all of that are going to work out, we get to have 2 to 3 months of time to get to know him in his country, in his territory, in his comfort zone.
Spend time in his world before that is a
before
huge
he
change
comes
for
to
him.
our world. And so as much as there's part of me that thinks, people go, oh my gosh, you're gonna go there for 2 or 3 months. And there was such a strong pull to this child and such a bond that had been created between them that even if something terrible were to happen and think something were to fall through at this point, we're committed to him. We're committed to being his family, whatever that might look like. So.
Some of the small scale funding has been paid for because we've had to do stuff on the front end, being the home study pieces. The first agency that we went through for our home study are pieces that we've paid already. But then there's also the involvement of the agency in Minnesota is a big expense, and then Ecuador itself is a big chunk of change. But those two plus travel expenses and living there are adding up to about 30,000.
I think we're at 35 to 40, yeah.
And so as hard of that pill it is to swallow is financially, I mean, we're really trusting that the Lord's gonna, this is what we've been called to, and we really feel that this is gonna happen, but it's gonna happen with the many prayer support and people who are willing to help us on this journey financially. It is going to be expensive. We understand that. It's not it's not a small number. We understand that.
So we are just stepping out in faith and wanting to follow through with our call to Marcelino, and that requires a good chunk of money. So we are at any point now we will be asked to do a $7,000 fee that goes to our adoption agency that's in Minnesota. There'll also be a $7,000 in-country fee that will be coming for Ecuador. And we will also be living there for 8 to 12 weeks. So our travel expenses with our family of 4 to get to Ecuador, and then we will quickly become a family of 5 because Marcelino will be able to be with us during our 8 to 12 weeks. And so our living expenses while we are in Ecuador and covering our home expenses here in the United States while we are gone are the areas that we are looking for financial assistance. We would love prayer support. We love hearing encouraging adoption stories, and we've had people reach out to us with offering prayer and financial support and just encouragement. Prayer for Marcelino as he waits. He's probably got the hardest job here.
And so there's no doubt that there's been a lot of people that have come alongside of us on this journey already. And so first, I would just really want to thank them and the many friends and family that have journeyed with us so far. But we're asking the rest of you to join us in prayer, join us throughout this. But we are immensely blessed for the prayers, for the financial support, and for the sharing this video. Let people in on this story. The more people that are involved in this, we believe that it's sharing this joy that we've just been blessed to be full of joy by Marcelino.
Thank you so much for joining us on this journey. Thank you for your financial support. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you for your encouragement. We look forward to keeping you all up to date with what's happening through our GoFundMe account, and we just thank you for joining this journey with us.